In this video, I'm doing a position analysis from the Magriel Cup, and I'm joined by my good friend, Tim Cross. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy this video. Please like and subscribe, and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Please let me know what you think in the comments below and what you'd like to see in future videos so I can work on that. My book, Backgammon Backgame Strategies, is available. There's a link in the description where you can get it. And if you're interested in lessons, please email me. My email is in the description. And in this video, we're going through a position from the recent Magriel Cup, and I'm joined by Tim Cross. Welcome, and thank you for joining me, Tim.
Thanks very much, Alex. This is a position that I struggle with in the match, and I still find it difficult now. So it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts on it and see if I can learn something myself as well as contributing to the discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you doing today?
Yeah, fine, thank you. Just having a break between. I've been having some lessons, and I might go for a short walk later. But it's a nice day in England today. It's a nice day.
Ah, which city are you in again?
Preston, which is 30 miles north of Manchester.
Okay. And how's
So
the weather this time of year?
Well, it's just typical mid to late autumn, crisp and cold, but not terrible. A pleasant time to be alive, really.
Okay. So this was from the Magriel Cup, which is a tournament between players from the United States and the UK. Is that correct?
That's right. Yes, yes.
So, can you tell us a little bit about the Magriel Cup just to familiarize the viewers?
Okay. Well, it's a really it started obviously years ago. There was a famous match between UK and the USA, and it's been reinstated online. And it's today this time USA won very comfortably about 2 years ago, and it's a combination of 2 points for a win and 1 point for a PR win. And the UK has got some excellent new players, and this time USA won a game, but it was extremely close, and the PR was extremely close right through. We've got some great players at the top: Sebastian Wilkinson, Gaz Owen for the UK, and it's CMC. I can't forget his name. Sorry, it's CMC. Is it? I've said that right. I said the
Oh,
initials right.
is that Christian
Yeah,
Monk
yeah.
Christensen?
No, no, no.
Oh, MCG?
MCG, of course.
Matt
Sorry.
Congar. Yes, yes.
Yeah, of course.
He's
Yeah,
that.
MCG is superstar. One of the greatest, if not the players in the world. I'd like to see him in the UBC, and he played top board for the USA and was fantastic. So some really top quality players at the top end, right through the whole teams. We've got in depth. And it was basically 2 points for a win plus 1 point for a PR win, and USA won by 4 points, which is
Wow, very close. Very
it's
close.
really close.
And,
Out of 150 points, it
and
was
I
a
saw
tremendous match.
you were on the team, and some of the other top players I can remember off the top of my head, Chris Bray and
Yes.
Albert Squire. I just did a video with him. He's a
Oh,
outstanding rising star, very
he
young.
really is. He is. He's really come through really quickly, and he's an excellent player. He's been around about 4 or 5 years, but he's getting better and better. He's somebody very hard to keep up with if he's not already overtaken me. I won't
Yeah,
be surprised.
yeah, yeah. Well, you're all
But
outstanding.
I'm determined to fight back though, Oliver. So watch out.
And you played a lot of matches, right? Five,
Yes.
six
Well,
matches.
yeah. Yes. Well, not too. It was for basically for 2 days. It was kind of played in board order for the singles matches. Board one played board one, board two played board two, and then they swapped over board two played board one, and vice versa, right down through the team. And then there were some speed gammon matches that were drawn, and some DMP matches, and a doubles match. Like you mentioned him, I played with Chris Bray. We didn't
Oh.
play our normal level. We in practice. I've got to say this on behalf of Chris. In practice, we played a practice match at 0.011. So, but unfortunately, we were 3.5 in the real thing. But it
That-
was a great experience playing with Chris. It's a good friend and a great player.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's outstanding. Okay, so let's take a look at the position. This is a
Yeah.
position between you and John O'Hagan. You were playing the white checkers at the bottom, John O'Hagan, the black checkers at the top, and it was on Backgammon Heroes. So I loaded the Heroes
Yes.
theme. This was an 11-point match. It was the second game of the match. The score was 0-1 in favor of John. So you were 11 away, he was 10 away, and John owns a 2 cube and White has a 3-1 to play. So before we talk about the position, we'll pause the video. We'll allow people to pause. We'll take a short moment to look at the position, think about what play they would make, and then we'll go through the analysis in just a moment. Okay, now that people had a chance to think about this, these are obviously much easier to analyze in hindsight than where you're actually at the board or on the computer playing. So they can be very challenging. Tell us what you were thinking about, or what you're thinking about now when you're looking at this position.
Well, I mean, I've had a benefit of a tiny bit of your insights into the position and some of your analysis, and look at some that we're going to see all together in a few seconds. So I've got a bit more insight. But at the time, all I was thinking of, there's obviously two different plans here. One is, and two things that you're, backgammon is all about following rules and choosing which one is the most important. And in this instance, we've got two completely conflicting ideas. One is to create a six prime, which is just absolutely a wonderful thing to do by playing 13-9. But we also have to worry about escaping our back checker, and therefore 24-21 coming to the edge of the prime is also necessary. And it's choosing between those two plays. And I've got to say that I took a bit of time on this, so I just couldn't decide. And I chose what I sometimes do this. I think I choose the thing that's unlikely to be the worst. And I just thought, well, how can making a six prime be terribly wrong? But I wasn't, Alex will tell you whether I was wrong or not. But my decision was based on, I really couldn't tell which the correct play was, and like I say, choosing what was least likely to be bad. I don't know whether I did that successfully, but that was my idea that convinced me to do that in the end. But I was totally aware that it was a very difficult decision.
Right, right. These are always, I feel like prime versus prime positions are some of the most challenging positions to do. Um,
Yeah.
and some of the features, when I look at this, of course, it's a prime versus prime. So white has a solid 5 prime, and black has two checkers behind the prime, and they're anchored at the edge of the prime. On the other side, black has a solid 4 prime, both without any gaps in it, containing one white checker that is not at the edge of the prime. So if the position holds, black would need 2 6s to leap the prime, whereas white would need a 2 or a 3, followed by a 6, or in the case of a 3, a 6 or a 5 to jump the edge of the prime. So let's look at it. This is the analysis. The best play is try to actually come up and then just lift it, retaining the solid 5 prime, however, being at the edge of the 4 prime, and then retaining the midpoint, not leaving a blot. So this is what the top play is, and it results in this position. And then the second play was the one you were talking about, making a solid prime, resulting in this position. So when you're looking at this afterwards, how do you assess this position now? Like, so do you ever think about, like, if I'm black, where would I rather be?
Might have been something to look at. As you say, backgammon is always easy with the benefit of hindsight and with the looking. I mean, now I just see the priority as a different priority. That getting to the edge of the six of the four prime as being the real priority, and hoping um, my mid my five prime held up for a while. And for one thing that I'm sure is part of the equation is that the inside the board I have 3 points and my opponent has 2 points. So if we come to the edge of the prime in the with the correct player 24-21, then black has got to attack to stop me jumping over, and he's at a slight disadvantage with having a 2 point board against a 3 point board. I didn't consider any of this in the analysis. You know, it's and maybe this is my next stage of improvement. I need to look into see the whole, you know, really put into every effort into trying to find, you know, trying to work the position out really carefully at the board. All I really considered was I didn't consider what would happen if black attacked, and now I can see that as part of it. I wouldn't be surprised if we had the 2 point board and black had the 3 point board, that it may be a slightly different question. I don't know. I'm not sure, but that's one of the things I didn't take into account.
Yeah, that's always a good thing to do is consider variance, change the position. I didn't do that variant in this presentation. However, we can kind of look at it maybe another time. Another thing that I thought may have been interesting is if this checker on the 6 points started out over here on
Right.
midpoint, then you can make the prime without breaking
Yes.
this point. So I think that might have been correct or definitely closer.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so let's look at some of these. And after the correct play by XG, you notice a few things. First, the back checker is at the edge of the prime, so that allows it to leap the prime much easier. There is a retained midpoint, so you're not leaving a blot here. And then you have a five prime, with a solid five prime, which is good. Of course, not as good as a full six prime, but still very good. I feel like in prime versus prime positions, the person with the longer prime usually has some sort of advantage. The person with more checkers behind the prime usually has a disadvantage. If the checkers are at the edge of the prime, that's helpful. Whereas if they're not at the edge, it's difficult. And also the timing. The person that has the most timing usually has an advantage, and we could see that. Now, in the other play, you do make the full six prime here, which is nice, but at the same time, the back checker is not at the edge of the prime, and there is a broken midpoint. One of the things I learned one time, I believe it was from Wilcox Snellings, he said the best way to counter a prime is with a counter prime.
Yes. Yeah.
So here's the prime and here's the counter prime. Now black has all these checkers to possibly make some points here or here, and this one might eventually get stuck. And if it does get stuck, you're going to break your prime, and that's going to give black a chance to escape. So it could be all for naught. Now,
May I add something, Alex,
yes,
on that? Let
please.
me go back to that one. So I actually also like to look at the analysis, and it's completely clear to me where I went wrong here. It's not, it's, I think I got the analysis of 24-21, 9-8 correct, but I massively overestimated, which around the 56% mark. You know, that's sorry, the 60% mark. That was what I was thinking it would be if I played 21. But where I went very badly wrong is with my 13-9 play. I was thinking it's only it's almost it's almost a given that I'm going to win this game, and I'm far from it. I actually only win 56%, so I really need to reanalyze this position after my six prime. This is where it went wrong for me. I completely overestimated how powerful my six prime was. So that I always find that useful, just to see where you went wrong in the analysis, Alex.
Yes, I think this is really how you improve. You go back and look at the plays you were unsure of or even made an error and try to understand the reasoning so that next time you run into a similar position, you get it right. So this was the original position. And then I made some variants here. Looking at the race, white is ahead 22 pips. So when you're trailing in the race, you usually have a timing advantage in prime versus prime. So that means you really need to start thinking about getting this moving. If the race were closer, maybe it wouldn't be as much of a priority. For example, if this checker were back over here, I didn't look at that variant, but that's something we may consider later. This is the heat map for the top play of coming to the edge of the prime at the upper left and making the prime at the upper right, and then the difference on the lower left and the key swing rolls for the opponent. And 6-1, 4-2, 5-1, 2-1, these are the key major swing rolls, and we'll look at that. And this table shows how they play. So the 6-1, after coming to the edge of the prime and lifting, the opponent will attack on the 4-point, leaving a loose blot on the 4-point. On the other hand, with the second play, the opponent will hit on the 12-point and sending a second checker back and not leave a loose blot. So we'll take a look at that. This is the second roll. So afterwards, you will have good 4s, 5s, and 6s. And then we'll take a look at that shortly. This is something to consider secondarily as well. So this is after making the full prime, you look at how black would play the 6-1, it would be like this.
Yes.
And now there are 2 checkers behind the 4 prime, and now black is starting to form a counter prime, which may hold up given the timing. For example, if white comes in with a 6-1 or 6-2, that immediately cracks. On the other hand, if you play the other way and black rolls a 6-1, the correct play is this, and it results in this position. Now white is much better off having only 1 checker behind the prime and a loose blot here and this awkward distribution of spares. And then let's see some of the variants. This is the original position. This is a variant where black has less timing, so now the lead is only 15 pips, and now they're virtually tied. So the timing, that tells you the timing plays a key role in it, and then just moving it back brings that back, but they're still relatively close. And then, so the tips that I learned from this is when ahead in the race, try to escape your back checkers if you still have some. In a prime versus prime position, the one behind in the race usually has better timing. Try to get to the edge of the prime if you're behind a prime, and avoid leaving blots that may be hit and counter primed. So that was it for the presentation. What other comments or anything you have to add for this?
Tremendously interesting, and I've definitely learned something, especially about my overestimating my 6 prime. But what I would say to anybody trying to learn from this as well, that but don't generally underestimate 6 primes. If you can get a 6 prime, generally it's the right thing to do. So don't watch this video and just stop making 6 primes, please. But in this instance, it was clearly wrong, and I feel I understand why now.
But I think you need to understand why you want to make a 6 prime and whether you need it. Sometimes it's better to clear the prime.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
When I was first learning, like playing tournament backgammon, a gentleman once told me, can't remember his name, but he told me a really good piece of advice that can be universally applied to every position. And he said, whenever you're considering a play, look at the entire board. And if you look on one side, and you might be able to make a small change on the other side that would make the correct play different. So consider the entire board. Is there a prime on the other side?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. So thank you very much for joining me. I certainly learned something, as I always do. It's such a pleasure to have you. Any final remarks before we conclude?
No, just I'll just try and do better next time.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, okay. I hope to have you again in future videos. It's always a pleasure to see you.
thanks,
Um,
Alex. I enjoyed it as always.
all
See you
right, thank you.
soon. Bye bye.
Thank you to the viewers for watching. Please like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this video. When you like and subscribe, you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Please let me know what you think in the comments below and what you'd like to see in future videos so I can work on that. My book, Backgammon Backgame Strategies, is available. There's a link in the description to where you can buy it. If you're interested in lessons, you can email me. My email is in the description. And Tim, you give lessons. Do you have an email I can put in the description?
No, the best advice. I contact me on Facebook if people are interested.
Contact Tim
Yeah,
on Facebook. He's
yeah.
all over Facebook. He has a big following. So I appreciate that. And I look forward to seeing everyone in future videos. And until then, keep rolling your dice.